Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Dudayambi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dudayambi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Dudayambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami, Tatayambi Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Tatayambi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Tatayambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from their happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Bodhisuha. Tayata Gati Gati Parasamgati Bodhisuha. Tayata Gati Gati Parasamgati Bodhisuha. So now get yourself ready for some meditation. I hope you're all well, staying calm, positive, safe, being mindful, aware, conscientious. Just to let you know, I was asked a question a couple of weeks ago now in relation to mantras, specifically the ones that we chant just there at the end of the chanting. Om Mani Padme Hum, also known, or one of its names is the Great Compassion Mantra. And the person wanted to know that they knew other Great Compassion mantras. I said, yes, there are many, many different lengths. In fact, there are 3 that I chant daily. One, it comes from you could say the mind-only school, Chan school, and also in the Pure Land school. This is a very long one. It's called the Great Compassion Dharani, and then, or Mahakaruna Dharani. And then, of course, there is the one chanted in the Tibetan tradition, which is also of the like name, the mantra, the long mantra. It's sort of like a medium length compared to the other 2. And there are some other ones as well. But don't get confused with that. Different traditions have different ones. Different masters or teachers will recommend different ones for different students. Okay, all goes back to the Buddha's teachings. And then, of course, another question came with the gate gate para samgati bodhisoha. Why we put Tayata Om at the start? Well, the Tayata Om comes from the Tibetan tradition. In the Chan tradition and the other traditions that relates to this from the Chinese and so on, there is chanted only gate gate para samgati bodhisoha. No problem, okay? Another one from a long time ago came and said, why do you put Om? So that they only knew it as Tayata, Gate Gate, Paragate. And I said, don't worry about these things. Just whatever has been recommended to you by your teachers, and then through your own intellect, utilizing your ability to investigate and analyze and really get to know what is the purpose of this, know the methods, know the mantra, and then put it into practice, especially with your mind, utilizing your breath and your body. That's more important than worrying about all these other little details, okay? Whatever you feel comfortable chanting with these two, for instance. Also, many other mantras. There's so many mantras. If you try to learn all the mantras, you'll never study the Dharma. Try to memorize all the mantras, I should say. Because if you know all the mantras, then that's fantastic. Know the meaning behind it. But anyway, so let's forget everything I just said and do some meditation now. So get comfortable, and we'll release the tension from the body. From the bottom to the top. Take a few moments to do this now. Now scan your body again to see if there's any leftover tension that you're able to release. And now initially place your mind at the tip of your nose, and the object of the meditation, as per usual, is the breath, or more specifically, the feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose all the way into your lungs and then back out your nose again. Breathing in, breathing out. Try your best to keep your body still. This will help you to keep your mind still and focused on the object. And also breathing in, breathing out. That's all we have to do physically right now. Mentally, all you have to do is keep your mind on this breath, recognize when it wanders off, and then conscientiously replace it onto the breath. Breathing in, and breathing out. Don't try too hard, don't try too little. Not too tight, not too loose. And if you like, you can also add the extra technique of counting the breaths, 1 to 10. One in breath and out breath is 1, and so on. But if you get distracted on the way to 10, then go back to 1 at that time. So while you are meditating, if any thoughts arise or mental activity arises, mental agitation, then don't cling to it. Don't grasp at it. Don't try to force it away or deny it, but simply and naturally let it go by replacing your mind onto your breath. And if your mind starts to become dull, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing on your breath more brightly. So let's practice like this for a little bit in silence. Now we can feel very pleased with ourselves and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness. Fill our whole being with this universal loving kindness, friendship. In the form of white light or white nectar, or you can just go with the feeling of which is utmost important. Fill yourself with so much universal love and kindness that it now radiates outwards from your heart to all living beings, initially your loved ones, family and friends. Filling them with the universal loving kindness too. May they be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And radiate further and further. Now also include those who may, or those that you are indifferent towards, you may regard as strangers, whether you know them a little or not at all. Fill them with the universal love and kindness too. And may they also be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Not only is this universal love and kindness, or can be developed beyond measure, it's immeasurable, based on equanimity, based on understanding and wisdom. But also it is the antidote to give up and to free the mind from cruelty, from hatred, from dislike, from aversion. So while we engage in this practice, we are applying the antidote, at the same time helping ourselves to develop this loving kindness beyond measure, and therefore creating the conditions for us to be able to eventually realize the Supreme Wisdom. So now also include those you may regard as enemies. May they also be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. Developing this mind of equanimity, including all of these three different types of people from our own perspective. Ones that we have attachment towards, have aversion from, or you could say, or to, and those that we're indifferent towards, from our own perspective. May all of these three types of people be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And now extend the loving kindness out further and further distance-wise, initially around your immediate area, to all living beings now. Those that fly through the air, live in the waters, live on the land, born from eggs, from wounds, from moisture through transformation. All sentient beings, whether weak or strong, great or small, short or tall, seen or unseen, near or distant, born or to be born. May they all be happy, free from suffering, and be peaceful. And really utilize your creativity and imagine that they are this, they are happy, they are free from suffering, and so on. Now radiate this love and kindness out throughout your whole state or county. And other states and counties throughout your whole country. To all living beings, whether you know about them or not, whether you like them or not, whether you dislike them or not. And throughout other countries, throughout the whole world. Those countries you have an affinity towards, those you're indifferent towards, and those that for whatever reason you may have some negative feelings towards. And have your loving kindness pervade throughout all of the oceans and waterways, down to the core of the earth and to the outermost atmosphere. till your loving kindness pervades throughout all of this planet. Every tiny little atom, molecule, energy, up to the largest life form, largest inanimate objects on this planet. And have your loving kindness now pervade throughout the whole solar system, so beyond this planet alone. Opening up your mind with this loving kindness, radiating this loving kindness further and further. And throughout all solar systems, throughout the galaxy. And all galaxies throughout the universe. Till your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. This loving kindness, radiated initially from your own heart, now covers infinite space and all living beings. It is not separate from the compassion, from the wisdom, from Bodhicitta. So now be present here and now too and recite the dedication prayer. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. So as you know, I'm addressing some questions that were asked of me throughout the 9 months that we had the commentary on the 8 verses of thought transformation. And I'm grouping them, not like I grouped them previously, when we did them, answered questions in between subjects, previously, where I grouped them into subjects. Now I'm actually utilizing my book, the Dharma and Encouragement Quotes, and giving the teachings from that and adding to it, okay? Making sure that I cover all of these questions or the answers to these questions. And if I don't, by the time we finish doing this, before the next big subject, which it will start probably the first Saturday in February, then let me know, and then I will address your queries, okay, after that. So utilizing these teachings and what are in the book, and then expanding upon them, okay? So put my glasses on, my reading glasses. So this one says, the quote is a longer quote. It says, all beings seek happiness and try to avoid suffering. When we consider that we are all interrelated, that all beings have been our parents throughout the infinite past, it should be obvious that we should develop and practice genuine love, appreciation, and respect for all, doing whatever we can to help cause happiness. Of course, I'm sure that all of you are aware of, if not all, most of these quotes or the explanations of the quotes, which are part of, or the full article, sometimes actually, or part of other articles. Okay, so I just thought I'd add that as well. Okay, so that's the quote and the explanation. Actually, before I do that, I'll explain Om Mani Padme Hum, because I didn't quite finish answering that question about Om Mani Padme Hum. Since here we are talking about, obviously, bodhicitta, we are talking about the universal love and kindness, the great compassion based on the wisdom. So I thought maybe it's a good time to finish answering that. Okay, so Om Mani Padme Hum, there's many ways it can be explained, okay? Sanskrit language and Om kind of, in this sense, represents body, speech, and mind. Our body, speech, and mind right now are impure. So when we pronounce, you could say, if you subdivide it, it's like, even though we call Om one syllable, it's really 3 syllables, A or Aum, which, to digress slightly, if you think about that, you go, Ah vibrates the lung cavity, or the chest cavity, the sinus cavity. So every time you go Om, it's like this energy thing happening up here with all of the chakras and all of the energy points, the meridians, So it's very good for you, mentally and physically. Anyway, I'll go back to the subject. So in this case, A or represents at the moment our impure body, speech, and mind, but we're working to purify them and actually realize the body, speech, and mind eventually of the Buddhas, of the enlightened beings. Okay, so or to purify the body, speech, and mind with our actions, through our actions of body, speech, and mind. Mani Padme, Om. Okay, Mani means jewel. In this case, it means the jewel of great compassion, or bodhicitta, or the altruistic intention, different ways of expressing the same thing. Padme represents here wisdom. So Mani Padme together is both the relative bodhicitta and the ultimate bodhicitta. And then Hom means the unification and perfection of this, which means enlightenment. So, to say it a different way, Om Mani Padme Hum means to purify the body, speech, and mind, by practicing the Dharma, by adopting that which needs to be adopted, by abandoning that which needs to be abandoned and avoided, and then perfecting eventually this great compassion, Mani, and the great supreme wisdom, Padme. Mani and Padme together is Hom, and then that means enlightenment. Okay, so that's another way to explain it. I've explained it to you some other ways as well in the past, if you remember, but I won't harp on about it right now. Okay. Okay, so the explanation says we should develop and practice the unique and extraordinary altruistic intention called bodhicitta, literally awakened mind, the great heart of compassion that wishes to attain unsurpassed supreme enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings and lead all sentient beings to do likewise. We should develop and practice both aspirational and practical bodhicitta. Those two come under the relative bodhicitta, not the ultimate yet, okay? So aspirational, obviously, is in our mind, the wish for all beings to attain enlightenment, the wish to help beings to attain enlightenment, and to realize this enlightenment ourselves for the benefit of others. And then the practical part, so put it into practice and realize it. Recognize all beings as one's mother, and with resolute intention, be mindful of their extraordinary kindness, wishing to repay their kindness with universal love and compassion, based on pure faith in the result of this practice. So this is the 7 points of the cause and effect method to realize this bodhicitta. Okay. Then let us develop a mind of equanimity to overcome prejudice, compassion to overcome cruelty, love to overcome anger, and empathetic joy to overcome hatred for the benefit of all sentient beings. So this is developing the 4 immeasurables, utilizing that method. Some different traditions would focus on one of these, the 7-point cause and effect method, or the 4 immeasurable method. For instance, Nagarjuna focus on this, Asanga focus on the other one, and so forth, back and forth. But you can practice both of them because they really are leading in the same direction, and they really are, the development of this bodhicitta, love and kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, based on equanimity, eventually based on the true understanding of supreme wisdom. Okay, so if I just have a little look at this one, if I can explain a little more. Of course, we've already gone through this many, many times, different ways of looking at it, 6 paramitas, 8 verses of thought transformation, as we recently did. You should know what bodhicitta is now, even though we haven't developed it yet. So recognize all beings as one's mother. Some people have queried me about this, and over the years, it's like, how is that possible? Beings are innumerable. How can all of them be our mother? And I say to these people that have queried that, first of all, infinite time, beginningless time, endless time. So you can't say that it's not possible. So don't just look at it and say, oh, that's not possible. You can't say that, because when did time begin? We say beginningless, okay? So when did this universe begin? What was before that, for instance? Don't do your head in. Don't confuse yourself by doing this. But let go of these clinging ideas that we have, these conceptual thinking ideas that we have, okay? just go beyond that, even if we don't fully understand yet. So all beings, and I say to the people that actually, what a great way to live. You're not going to hurt your mother normally. Okay, I say normally because it depends on people's minds, isn't it? You're not going to hurt your grandma, for instance, as well. So if we can perceive all beings have been our mother in previous existence, then how can we hurt them? Even things that we find repulsive right now, maybe a spider or something like that, we're not going to hurt the spider because we think, that was grandma, that was mom in a previous life. Okay, so you can use humor a little bit, but also realize this is a possibility, and I actually believe this to be true. Maybe it not in the last 100,000 lifetimes, maybe so many ago. Who knows? Okay, so all beings have been one's mother, and with resolute intention. So have the bodhicitta intention, maintain this intention, be mindful of their extraordinary kindness. So really think about the kindness of the mother. We've already gone into this many times, so I won't harp on right now. You can contemplate again by yourself in your own time. And then wish to repay this kindness. How can we not repay this kindness? So, we go to the shop, we buy some bread, for instance, we give them money for it. You're repaying the person for the bread. That's so mundane. Actually, think about the kindness given to you. You want to repay or give the kindness back to these people. With universal love and kindness, I have the wish that they are happy. With compassion, have the wish they are free from suffering. And base this on understanding that this practice, this development of the bodhicitta actually works. So, okay, by thoroughly testing it and putting it into practice. And then, of course, the four immeasurables, love, compassion, or loving kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity help to overcome prejudice, cruelty, anger, and hatred. And at the same time, like I mentioned before, they become immeasurable. They're called immeasurables for a reason, because you can develop them beyond measure. So that'll do for that one. Now I look at the next one. All conditioned phenomena, both mental and physical, arise and cease dependent on cause and effect. No conditioned phenomena exists apart from cause and effect. Now, this one and the next one are very similar. So I kind of address them both together, okay? The next quote is a shortened version of that, really. It says, all phenomena are dependent on conditions, cause and effect, okay? And in fact, I'll read the explanation of the second one first. All conditioned phenomena, both physical and mental, arise and cease, dependent on cause, condition, and effect. No conditioned phenomena exists apart from cause and effect. And important to mention here that I mentioned conditioned phenomena. That doesn't mean enlightenment. It doesn't mean the supreme wisdom, the ultimate bodhicitta. This is all beyond cause and effect, okay? Not conditioned by cause and effect at all. In fact, we realize the empty nature of the cause, the empty nature of the effect, and the conditions. And then, therefore, all of this idea, this conceptual idea of the law of karma doesn't exist as a whole or within its parts, okay? Little teaching on emptiness. So all conditioned phenomena, both physical and mental. So this is both physical from a point of view of our five skandhas, our physicality and our mentality, but also all outside phenomena, all physical things, and all of our thoughts and everything that comes from the mind and relates to the mind, the consciousness, okay? They arise and they cease depending on cause, condition, and effect. So we make the cause, and then when the conditions are ripe, the effect comes, okay? We don't escape from this unless we purify the negative karma. Then it may come smaller, and so you don't experience the big sufferings if you don't purify this karma. You don't sort of like create the merit and engage in really good deeds of body, speech, and mind to purify and to create the conditions that we need to on the path to enlightenment. If we don't do that, then we will experience big time results, okay? But of course, we're practicing Dharma, so we are minimizing, you could say, the results that could come, and some purifying them, okay? Totally. Hopefully all, very soon as possible. So that'll do for that one. So the first one I'll read to you again. All conditioned phenomena, both mental and physical, arise and cease dependent on cause and effect. No conditioned phenomena exist apart from cause and effect. The explanation: all phenomena are conditioned by cause and effect and therefore are effects of causes. For instance, whenever a thought or mental sensation arises, it has arisen dependent on previous thoughts and sensations. I think if you think about it just a little bit deeper than normal, you can see this is the case. How can we have any thought right now just arising by itself? Impossible. It's come from previous thoughts. Okay. Also, physical phenomena such as our bodies and all of nature arises based on causes and conditions. Interdependent origination, you could say. Okay. Take, for example, a flower, which arises dependent upon the seed, bush or tree, and stem, along with the balance of the elements of water, earth, heat, and movement. No mental or physical phenomena arise solely by and of themselves. Therefore, all conditioned phenomena are empty of independent self-nature. So you can contemplate the 12 links of dependent origination, or Paticca Samutpada, and, realize that from moment to moment, in between these moments even, that everything is interdependent, that it arises due to interdependency, the cause and effect. So cause, condition, and effect. So dependent on ignorance is karmic formations, dependent on karmic formations is consciousness, dependent on consciousness is name and form. Dependent on name and form are the six sense bases. Dependent on the six sense bases is contact. Dependent on contact is feeling. Dependent on feeling is desire. Dependent on desire is clinging. Dependent on clinging is becoming. Dependent on becoming is birth. Dependent on birth is old age, sickness, death, sorrow, grief, lamentation, pain, despair, and a whole great mass of suffering. But with the ceasing of this ignorance, so uprooting the ignorance, all karmic formations cease. With the ceasing of karmic formations, consciousness ceases. With the ceasing of consciousness, name and form cease. With the ceasing of name and form, the six sense bases cease. With the ceasing of the six sense bases, contact ceases. With the ceasing of contact, feeling ceases. With the ceasing of feeling, desire ceases. With the ceasing of desire, clinging ceases. With the ceasing of clinging and becoming ceases. With the ceasing of becoming, birth ceases. With the ceasing of birth, old age, sickness, death, sorrow, grief, lamentation, pain, despair, and a whole great mass of suffering come to cease. Therefore, with the ceasing of the ignorance, all suffering ceases. Okay? So once again, to teaching, to really just sort of reciting the formula there of the interdependent origination formula, Paticca Samutpada, but also some slight teaching on emptiness of self. Okay? Emptiness of conditioned phenomena. They all arise due to cause and effect and conditions. Okay, that'll do for that, for those two. The next one says, all religious and philosophical traditions teach morality and a path to individual and collective peace. If we live contrary to these teachings, then peace can never be individually or collectively realized. In a sense, this is also talking about law of karma again, okay? You must cause the peace and avoid causing the lack of peace. And all religious traditions, and even what we could say non-religious traditions, philosophical traditions, science and so forth, and people that don't say they don't involve themselves with any of these types of thoughts actually can realize and practice morality, be harmless, and be helpful. It's possible to do that, okay? Okay, explanation. Although the foundation, this explanation, apart from being edited, actually was a speech that I gave for an interfaith event many, many years ago. I think 2012 or something. But then, of course, I edited it. I thought it was a good explanation for this quote. Although the foundational teachings, beliefs, purpose, methods, and the like vary between different religious and philosophical traditions, in one way or another, they all encourage their practitioners to be moral, to develop individual and collective peace and understanding. But if the practitioners do not understand these teachings and methods and do not put them into practice, then their desired goals can never be achieved. Just like if we have in mind a destination that we would like to go to, then acquire a good map or a good guide or a map of how to get there, and then do not study the map or follow the guide, and or never make the effort to embark on the journey, we will never arrive at the desired destination. We may even go very quickly in the wrong direction. Also, it is important to note that it is absurd to expect good results if we engage in immoral and harmful thoughts, actions, and words. So think, act, and speak morally, for morality is like the foundation of a house. Without a strong and stable foundation, the walls and roof come tumbling down. So I know that we just went into 1 minute there. I did want to get through one more, but we'll just have to do that next week. So you can see that the practice of morality is like our foundation, you know. If we are not moral, very difficult to practice meditation, you know, actually impossible to perfect it, because the mind will always be disturbed with some guilty feeling, some remorse, even if we're not aware of it. Okay, so morality is very important. It's the foundation of our practice. Okay, so I rejoice in your goodness. I hope you've enjoyed today's class. Yeah, we got through another 4 of these teachings, so I'll continue doing this throughout this year and in January. All right, so and then begin the next subject after that. Rejoice in your goodness. Keep studying and practicing and sharing the Dharma to the best of your ability. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo